Hi everyone! Hi guys, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits. It's a little echoey tonight, but today I'm really excited to tell you all about the summer mini Skein mini series that is going to happen in July 2019. This is going to be a special week that's going to be very similar in some respects to the Hanukkah special that I did at the end of 2018. We are going to have 5 nights of videos showcasing 5 different techniques, and they are all going to feature mini skeins. So we're going to be looking at many different ways that we can dye these mini skeins to create fun colorways. Now, if you think about it, if you were going to take like a full skein of yarn and, for example, just dip dye it, you would end up with sort of like a gradient of color across the skein, right? But it would be a repeating gradient because it's in a loop multiple times. Well, if instead you were going to do dip dyeing by slowly adding one mini skein, then another to the pot, you'd get something that's really more of a gradient than than a repeating sort of transitional colorway. And so, yeah, we're going to be playing with a lot of different techniques, and it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of fun to watch. The Summer Mini Skein mini series, or the SMSMS, is going to start on July 22nd, 2019. The videos will come probably around 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Normally I release my videos in the morning, but these ones will come out in the evening because maybe I'll be able to do some as live premieres and join you guys in the chat room. I'm not sure about that completely, but it's one of the really fun parts, I think, of it. But the other thing that is really exciting about this summer special, and probably the thing that makes it most like the Hanukkah special, is that you can pre-order a sampler that is filled with yarn dyed in this special. So in these samplers, you'll get 5 wrapped packages that will contain mini skeins that were dyed in the video, or in all the videos. So each night we'll have one with a date on it. So that way, on Monday, you know when to open up while you watch the video. On Tuesday, in each of the videos. And so it's sort of like a little summer advent calendar fun. Now, the main difference between the summer series and the Hanukkah special, besides being tied to a holiday, is that the summer series is all going to feature the exact same yarn base. I will be using 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon for all of the videos. That way you can easily mix and match or incorporate all of the yarn that you get into one project. Now, the samplers aren't necessarily created as, say, like a fade set. They're not designed that way, since I'll be showcasing different techniques, and you're only gonna really get one, I'll touch on that, one mini skein each night, but they are all the same base, so it'll be easier if you wanted to do some kind of fun project with all of them. You could do that a little easier than with the Hanukkah special. I showcased a variety of different yarn bases, and so I thought it would be fun. Hey, Indy, go to Daddy. Keith, Indy, go. All right. No, I'm just talking about the summer sampler, and Indy is coming and begging me for dinner. Hey, Indy, I need you to go to Daddy. Indy, go upstairs. Go upstairs. Sorry, hashtag mom life. So yeah, in this little live stream, I'm going to go through some of the details on the sampler to give you guys some information. And oh yeah, I suppose I should probably give you guys the link. The link for the pre-order of the sampler is currently in the video description and iCard, but I am also going to drop it into chat right now. And so, yeah, and the thing, speaking of affordability, I wanted to create an option that was the full sampler and an option that was less expensive as well. So there are 3 different options for the sampler, and I'll get into those in just a minute. And actually, maybe I'll just start talking about that right now. This whole series came about because as a reward for the ChemKnits patrons. And I really wanted to create something to thank you and a community with an extra series of videos. And they actually voted for a mini skein based series. And I'm really, really excited to start playing with these and dyeing them. So for samplers, there are 3 different options that come in both fingering weight sock yarn and DK weight yarn. All of the yarn is the same 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon blend. But with the sock yarn, the fingering weight, there are 2 different sizes of the samplers. So the first option, which is $25, is the 50-gram sampler of fingering weight sock yarn. And so in that, you will receive 5 packages of wrapped mini skeins, so that way you can unbox them yourself as you're watching the video each night. And each of the mini skeins will be 10 grams, so you'll get a total of 50 grams of yarn with that sampler. Yes, all right. The next sampler size is the 100-gram fingering weight sampler. And so with that one, you are going to get a combination of 10-gram and 20-gram mini skeins. And so each night you'll open up, your package will contain between 1 and 3 mini skeins featured in that video. So you might get a little more variety, because if you get 2 mini skeins in a night, they will likely be maybe subtly different, but complementary, probably different colors. Which I guess brings me to the other point, that the samplers aren't all going to be completely identical, because I'm going to be playing with a lot of fade type techniques. So there is going to be a little variation between each one, which will also be pretty fun, I think. How many yards are in the 10-gram minis? The 10-gram minis have, of the fingering weight yarn, are 46 yards per 10 grams or 92 yards per 20 grams. That is an excellent question. I'm just looking at my notes. The 100-gram fingering weight, both of the 100-gram samplers that I have also include a hand-stamped project bag. The project bag is, let's see, the project bag is, they're all pre-washed, so they're about 9.5 by 11 inches, and it's sort of like my first foray into project bags. And so that's something that's included in the 100-gram samplers, but not the 50-gram one. And so finally, the third sampler is going to feature DK weight in the same blend. This one is the most limited of all the samplers right now, but the DK sampler is going to have 5 20-gram mini skeins, each wrapped, so you can unbox one each night as you're watching the video, or at the end of the video if you're curious which one you got. And it also includes the hand-stamped project bag. It has it's 100% cotton with a drawstring closure, and is really, really, I think, cute. I'm really excited with how they've turned out. And maybe someday I'll talk about all the drama with the project bags and my yeah, but they are great, and I've made probably about half of them so far, so I'm excited to make the rest of them. But I think that you guys will really like them, especially if you are big ChemKnits fans. Let me make sure I can see comments. Oh no, my pleasure. So if you want more yarn, because you might, if you want more yarn, you can buy more than one sampler. Then there will likely be differences between the 2. I can't guarantee that you won't get the same color in each one, but the likelihood that they're identical is very, very slim, because I'm anticipating a lot of subtle differences between the different yarns for each night. And I think that it's going to be just, I don't know, I'm just so excited. And I'm going to start filming next week, and I'm just beyond excited about this. Let me see. But if you want more yarn, so you could get more than one sampler, that's one option. But I also am offering some add-ons. And in the Hanukkah sampler, I did it all in one listing, but this time I made a separate listing for the add-ons. And to buy these add-ons in these limited edition colorways, you do need to purchase the sampler. So these aren't available as a standalone item, but for the add-ons, you can get either, well, you can get either or both 100-gram sock yarn with a fiber blend to be determined. It'll likely be some kind of superwash wool nylon blend, but I haven't yet decided what yarn I want to do, but it's not necessarily going to be the same base as the minis. And the other add-on option is a sock blank that you can either have intact or unraveled. Now, these limited edition colors, the sock blank and the sock yarn are likely going to involve the same colors or be like the same color family, and so they'll be related. But since one of them is a blank and the other one is a skein of yarn, the colorways and the way that they knit up will be different because of just the way like dyeing a blank versus like a skein tends to work out. The blanks are double-stranded, and there is an option for me to unravel the blank for you. And so all of that is in this add-on listing that I'm going to drop into the chat now. Oh, hi! I can't believe you caught me live. That's awesome. Yeah, so the add-on just went, I mean, actually I am pointing the right direction on the screen. I was pointing to where it is on the camera, but on the laptop it's in the right spot. And so those add-ons are at the pretty standard price for sock yarn and for blanks in my shop. All of the details are in Etsy, but I also have a blog post that I will add to the comments at the end that includes sort of more description about the whole series, which I'm just really, really excited for. So let me see. So yeah, and the nice thing about having the add-ons as a separate listing is that if you want two of, like you can get 5 of the limited edition colorway, like, you know, you can determine how much of it you want or don't want. And so I wanted to give that flexibility in there because the way I had it set up for Hanukkah, it was harder for people who wanted like more of the bonus full skein to like accommodate that. So I mentioned that the summer mini skein series is going to take place in July 2019. It's going to start on Monday, July 22nd, and will run Monday through Friday that week. I'm not entirely sure when the bonus videos for the add-on sock yarn and sock links will fit into the schedule. They might be Dye Pot Weeklies that week, or they might be bonus videos that continue into the weekend. I haven't yet figured out exactly when those will air, but the whole schedule will be published when I'm getting ready to ship the samplers. So when will the samplers ship? I'm going to be shipping out all the samplers in the very last week of June. This should give us enough time for them to hopefully arrive to everyone before the videos start airing. I cannot guarantee delivery for international customers because customs can take indeterminate amount of time, but I will do my best, and like with the Hanukkah series, I'll do my best to ship the international ones first, so that way they can have the maximum amount of time to get to the destination in time, and we can all cross our fingers. So there's a question, will the skein and sock blank add-on be similar dye techniques or different? That is, so I have a very vague idea of what I'm planning to do for them right now. And if you remember with the Hanukkah series, I ended up with an oops. And so what I thought I was going to do for the colorway, I ended up going with, I forget if it was plan B or plan C for that colorway. So they definitely are not going to be like the exact same technique. And my plan is for there to be some variation between them. Yeah, that might evolve, I think, as I'm working. But they will, definitely, without question, knit up differently. But they might be like related in the same color families, if that makes sense. Um, let's see. So that's when the mini series is going to start. Oh, and all of the summer mini Skein mini series videos are going to be available for free on the channel. So you don't have to buy the sampler in order to watch the videos. Everyone can watch the videos and participate. It's really fun to, I guess, give more than one person the opportunity to play with the yarn that's from a given video, because there's always a lot of questions about how does this yarn swatch? What will it look like knit up? And so one of the things that you will be able to do is play with some of these different colorways yourselves and then get a sense of, okay, I loved how this one knit up. I want to go try that technique myself. And so it's a way for you to sort of like experiment and play with some of these colorways on, like on your end as well, which I think is really fun. Plus, we'll see. Well, I'm going to be twisting a lot of skeins. When I made my minis for Hanukkah, I think they weren't this big. I think that they weren't quite half the size. But there's a fair amount. I'm going to spread the twisting out over multiple days to twist everything back up, or maybe, who knows, we'll rig up a drill or something to help with that. But I'm excited, and I saw a comment flash forward. So there's a question that you're a Patreon subscriber. Will you get any fun videos for Patreon? Patrons might get some. I don't do spoilers for things like this, but patrons might get some like behind the scenes like teasers along the way. Certainly in the monthly Patreon newsletter, I'll probably talk about like how things are going, or if I hit roadblocks and things like that. As for special videos, like I'm not planning on there being like a specific early access video for patrons versus the series that I'm publishing, at least not right now. But yeah, there might be some polls for patrons to vote. Patrons already did vote on a lot. I set out a Survey Monkey poll, and so the patrons really helped me shape the direction of the series, not just the theme, but sort of, that's why I decided to add the DK weight and not just have the fingering weight, because the patrons sort of expressed an interest in that. And I've actually sold already a couple of the DK weights samplers. And so I might have to see if I can add a few more if that ends up being popular. But yeah, I think that Indy, do you want to say hi? Come here. Indy's like sitting here begging. Did you have dinner yet? Go ask Daddy. Go get Daddy. Go get Daddy. Indy, go upstairs. Odds are he'll come back down in about 2 seconds. But yeah, so if you are a patron, you can use your Patreon, and you have a coupon, a Patreon exclusive coupon. Those coupons can be applied to this sampler. The ChemKnits Creations birthday sale coupon does not apply to the sampler. That only applies to ready to ship yarns. And so this is a pre-order and is excluded from that sale. Now, I guess the other disclaimer that I will put out there is that if you go and sign up to be a Patreon today, you will be eligible for your first coupon on May 1st. So, well, actually that's fairly soon, but I send out coupons usually on the 2nd of the month. And so you can't, yeah, so that way, like, it's not quite people signing up like just for the coupons, if that makes sense. But yeah. Yeah, and like my Patreon's in the video description. Indy, you're being really beggy. Go ask Daddy for dinner. Go get Daddy. Okay, then lay down. Indy, lay down. I love you. I really do. But Mommy's on TV right now. There's just these big eyes just staring at me. Oh, what is this all about? I just released the ChemKnits Summer Yarn Sampler. So there's going to be 5 wrapped packages that you can open up, and all of the yarn in there is going to be featured in 5 videos near the end of July. And so that is now in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop, and I'll pop a link to the sampler into the chat. Oops. And there's options for DK weight, 100 grams of DK weight yarn. And oh, the DK weight yarn is, let me check the yardage. That is 49 yards per 20 grams. And then the sock yarn is 92 yards per 20 grams. And so there's both a 50 gram sock yarn sampler option and a 100 gram sock yarn sampler option. So the DK weight will have 5 20 gram mini skeins. The 50 gram sock yarn will have 5 10 gram mini skeins. And then the 100 gram sock sampler will have a combination. So one night you might open a 20 gram mini skein. One night you could get 3 10 gram mini skeins. And it's not going to be the same across the board. So one person might get 2 or 3 10 grams the first night, and someone else might get a 20 gram mini skein that first night. So there's going to be a little bit of variability in there, which hopefully will be fun. But since I realize that since I'm playing with a lot of gradients and fades, and I got a lot of these 10 gram mini skeins already, that it would be fun to sort of include more in the set. And well, I originally had one idea for the series that ended up scrapped, which is the main reason why I decided to do a mixture. But I think that it's still going to be a lot of fun. And I've got ideas that are some of my favorite dyeing techniques, but I haven't necessarily done it with minis in mind. And so I know that a lot of people sometimes aren't like a huge fan of sort of the modeled look you get when you're dyeing, say, a sock blank. And so that's one thing, if you want sort of like a gradient or some kind of fade, but you don't necessarily want to use a blank because you don't want that resist from the stitches, dyeing mini skeins could be a way to go. Now, I've dyed a lot of minis over the years. Like at the very earliest ChemKnits dyeing videos, I was doing some like 3, 5, 6 gram mini skeins, random small amounts of yarn. But this is a little different because I'm going to be thinking about how these minis could work together in a project. And again, the sampler isn't going to be intended as a fade set. Certainly they could all be used together in one project, but I'm not, each video sort of would create a fade set, but then I'm sending pieces of it to all of you so then you guys can play with it, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Maybe if there's an oops video, patrons could get early access to it. Oh, that's a good idea. If I have an oops. I'll think about that more, definitely, because so the mechanical things with unfortunately, I can't just give early access to a video that's scheduled. I have to make a video unlisted to give early access and then manually schedule it, which is why right now I'm only doing 1 early access video a month, because then it makes the schedule of shifting them fairly easy. So yeah, it's fun. There's a question. So maybe all jewel tone or all pastel packs. I'm not 100% sure because I think certainly when I'm picking them, I'm going to try to pack each of the samplers so that way there's variety. I don't want you to get 5 skeins that all look exactly the same. I'm going to pick things that I think are fun together. There are going to be very different techniques and so different types of colorways in there. And so that's why it's sort of not necessarily like a fade designed in mind, but certainly the the yarns could be mixed together in a really fun way. So no like guarantees that like they're all going to be related in like tone or something like that. And part of that is also because I film things you guys know, I film things the first time I try them. And so sometimes I get an oops and then like I back off and I change gears. But other times I go into something with one idea and one expectation, and then the result ends up being something still cool but completely different. But I am planning, as I'm wrapping these samplers, I'm gonna have like, I don't know, buckets, like tubs for each night. And so then I will be picking like all the colors for each sampler all at once. So it's not like I'm gonna have like a bag full of night one and like blindly pick those. There's gonna be some, I'm going to sort of like intentionally basically make it so that way like hopefully it's like exciting and there's some variety in there for everyone, if that makes sense. Like I wouldn't want one person to end up with all say gray. I mean, like if that's what you want, then that could be great. Now, depending on how the pre-sales, etc. go, there's a chance that there could be then some really fun fade sets going into the shop. There will actually, for a video coming up, I did play with some of these mini skeins and do a technique. One that's not necessarily super scalable, but there's a really fun video, I think on Tuesday coming out, which I think that you guys will love and sort of be like a hint of like the great things that you can do with minis. So I do foresee there being some mini skein based fade sets in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop at some point. I just don't know exactly when, if that makes sense. Because again, I don't want there to be any spoilers for the series. Like very frequently, I add things to the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop before a video is published. So you can kind of get like a little sneak peek about what's coming up by seeing what I've added to the shop recently. But with like the Hanukkah special, I was very careful and I only added some like bonus leave no dye behind skeins to the shop in advance. I did not add any of the extra skeins from the dyeing videos themselves to the shop because, you know, I want those of you who are at home and are going to unwrap the yarn to see what you got. I want you to have that, ooh, what did I get moment? And I want there to be that fun experience and the tactile experience. So that way, you know, you can see like, wow, looking at this on video and looking at this in person, like how similar is it? How different is it? And so I'm hoping that that'll just be a lot of fun. I know you guys really, really enjoyed opening up the minis for the Hanukkah special. And yeah, so I wanted to do something a little different and have some fun with it. I think I do need to figure out how I'm going to deal with the filming of each video. I imagine that I might start with playing with a technique on say 100 grams of yarn. So that way, versus doing each of them sort of in bulk, because I think that if most of you, if you were going to play with these techniques at home, you might choose to play with 10 gram minis or 5 20-gram minis. Technically, like Wool to Dye For calls the 10 grams micros. I tend to call them all minis. But I think that, yeah, so I think my plan is to start the videos with playing with about 100 grams worth of yarn, and then scaling it up with either like something sped up or I'm not planning on doing like a twist on it within the one video. I'm planning to try to have there be some level of consistency, but maybe one of the questions of these videos is if I do something on 100 grams of yarn and then I scale it up to do it on 400 grams, which I think that's about, I think I'm going to be doing about 500 grams per video, probably more, so that way there's some extras, but yeah, so that way, you know, maybe one of the things that we'll see at the end is like, how do things scale up? And one thing that I've learned is that things can look really, really different when wet. And sometimes when you do something, you're like, wow, these three look the same. But then once dry, you can really see the difference between the shades. And so, yeah. And I'm anticipating using, kettle dyeing techniques, low immersion techniques, maybe some countertop techniques. And yeah, but there's a lot of possibility with these little guys. And I am just really, really excited to see what we can create. I think it's going to be a lot. Ooh, I just had an idea. Maybe that'll have to be the Die Cut Weekly that week. I need where's my diary when I need it? I need to write this down. Okay, I've got a notepad open. Okay. Inspiration struck. That happens sometimes, and this is why I recommend having a notepad nearby, because when you have a really fun idea, then it helps us. Yes, my diary. I actually on Zazzle have a Leave No Die Behind spiral bound diary. There's a link to the Zazzle merchandise in the video description. I think that the other thing, I guess, to remind everyone, and I don't think I put this in the video description, but I am having a sale in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop right now. We just hit 1 year of being on Etsy, and so thank you, all of you, for making this be a really pleasant experience. And yeah, so there's right now through the end of April, you can save 20% off all of the ready-to-ship skeins of yarn using the code BIRTHDAY at checkout. That information is actually even in the shop announcement. So it does exclude the summer sampler, other pre-orders, and Die Cut Weekly sponsorship, and the ball winding service. But otherwise, there's probably over 140 skeins of yarn featured in past and upcoming videos that you can save 20% off on. And so this ends, I think, on the April 30th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. You need to do a no essential oils left behind soap. That's awesome. It's awesome. It's funny because some of these videos that I do where I take leftover dye and just throw things together, some of these end up being my favorite skeins of yarn ever, which is sad because you can't really reproduce it, but it's just nice and fun to see what kind of one-of-a-kind mystery things you can create. Now, I suppose one could start doing Leave No Die Behind on minis if you don't want a pastel and you just have a little bit of yarn. Minis could actually be pretty decent yarn mops in many different situations. So yeah, so minis can be lots and lots and lots of fun in many, many ways. And yeah, I'm just really excited to play with them. And I've got a really fun plan to wrap them up. And I'm trying to think if I'll probably post a picture of the wrapping I did for the Hanukkah one somewhere. I'm sure that there's pictures of that if you go back in my Instagram back to December or January. But yeah, each thing will be wrapped, and because I think that it's really I do probably at least 2 different unboxing live streams every month, and they're always a surprise, and it's a lot of fun to get a package that you know is going to contain beautiful yarn or fiber and open it up and see what's inside. And that moment of, ooh, what's in here? And that anticipation is something that I really enjoy. And so think of these samplers like a care package. It's just, what's going to be in there, sort of. But you don't necessarily know the colors or the techniques, or, will it be I'm anticipating there'll be a mixture of semi-solid tonals, speckled, variegated, that standard ChemKnitsy fare. As for dyes, There will I don't know 100% the entire types of dyes I'm going to be using. Definitely I will be using acid dyes. There may also be some food coloring used as well. I'm not 100% sure with that yet, but it might be a lot of acid dyes. You enjoyed torturing yourself waiting each night for the Hanukkah sampler. Yeah, I think that it's just so much fun. Now, depending again on how everything goes with pre-sales, if I know that some of this might be out of people's budgets, I might, and if there's interest in this, let me know. I'm considering offering a just some snips sort of super mini package, which would include maybe not even a yarn, but some of the colorways on a little bobbin. And so then you could still, it wouldn't necessarily be enough yarn to use in anything except for maybe some a little bit of embroidery or something, but it could be a way that other people could still participate in sort of this unboxing experience each night. And so if people are interested in just some snips, let me know, and I'll see what I can put together. Yeah, and so that's something that I'm considering. And there might potentially be an option for, I was able to do this with Hanukkah because I had some extras. I'm no promises, but there might be able to be a just one night option where the mini skein would have the date to open it, but you could get maybe just one mini skein for randomly one of the nights. So those are some things that I might be able to, release sort of closer to, probably those might happen beginning, middle of June, or something, if I have enough yarn. It depends on how the pre-sales go. But yeah, I do want to try to make it so that way as many people as possible can sort of participate in this, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense. Have I tried candy nerds to speckle with? Ooh, that's a good question. I haven't tried speckling with nerds per se, but the very first candy dyeing video I ever did, where I'd use leftover Halloween candy, I do believe I had some nerds in there. So that was a live stream back in 2017? Wow. Oh! Speaking of birthdays, guess what today is? I already put this on the YouTube community page, but 10 years ago today, I published my first blog post on yarn dyeing on ChemKnits.com. So technically I did the actual dyeing more than 10 years ago, but I don't know the exact date of that. And so I'll go ahead and post this blog post in the chat, but it is not an entire coincidence that I am coming and talking about the series with you guys today. So this is my ChemKnits yarn dyeing blog post. And so I just think that it's really, really fun. I don't post as much on the blog anymore, I think because as a whole community, blogging is less of a thing these days. People, instead of writing more blogs, will share more type posts on Facebook and Instagram, etc. But I do have some things that I specifically want to write and share on the blog. That is what got all of this started in the first place. But I really do enjoy making these videos, and it's really exciting to me when my schedule can get to the point where I can really plan an extra series. So right now I'm doing a minimum of 2 videos every week that come out on Tuesday and Friday mornings. And so these special series, it's more filming and more editing, but it's so worth it. It's fun to be able to share this content with you guys. And I think that it'll be really fun to have sort of something to celebrate in the middle of the summer when it's really hot. And because, we're just far away, and I anticipate doing some kind of Hanukkah series in my brain, but I don't know, I'm really excited with this summer special. And yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful, the Summer Skein mini series, but I just sort of tickled me a little bit, and I guess I can be a little corny, and yeah, but it's gonna be fun. And I don't know, I like my mixture of dyeing experiments and tutorials. In most of my videos, I very rarely do any yarn dyeing that is not on camera. Occasionally I might finish something up, but really I tend to film and share all of it. And that's because I really like trying things for the first time and getting a sense of what works and what doesn't work. And doing it on camera helps me keep that record of what I'm doing, and then makes it like easier for me to try to go and build on that more in the future. And so I'm really excited about what we might learn with these minis, the oopses that will happen. But yeah, I know that I have a huge collection of mini skeins because I've been working on, not quite for 10 years now, but I haven't made a hexapuff in probably since we moved back to Massachusetts. But I do have a whole Ziploc baggie full of hexapuffs for the beekeeper's quilt. And so mini skeins, there's so many things that you can do with minis. Even if you don't want, I mean, I guess that's technically incorporating things into one project, but I'm trying to use as many different colors as possible in mine. So it's just a lot of fun. And I hope that you guys think that this will be a lot of fun too. Now, pre-sales, I'm not planning on closing the pre-sale at any point. I think, but the Hanukkah samplers did sell out. And so if this is something that you're really interested in, you might not want to wait. I will probably close the add-ons at some point, because I'll need to close that before I do the dyeing, because there's a limit, I guess. But I'm planning to dye enough yarn to accommodate all of the pre-sale things that I've listed. And if I have extra yarn, then they might be able to add some more samplers last minute. I was able to do that with Hanukkah as well, and sort of release some very last minute packages. How many will be available? So right now, and I see that some sales have just come in, so I'm gonna need to double check. Okay, so right now, the most limited is the 100-gram DK sampler. Of all of them, that's the most limited. I believe that right now there are only 2 left. And I might see if I can shift things around. I don't know how much more DK weight yarn I have. That's what I'm going to need to check. But the DK one is the most limited. I will say that, and I'm trying to go and see, but I think that there's only 2 DK ones left. I think there were 30 samplers total, and so there should be, I think I started with 10 50-gram fingering weight ones, 15 100 grams fingering weight stock yarn, and then I started with only 5 of the DK. So there's only currently 2 DK samplers left. I might have enough that I could add like another maybe 2. So I'll see. And if the sampler that you want is out of stock, send me a message and I'll do my best to see what I can do. I believe that there's some fluidity between the number of 50-gram and 100-gram stock yarn samplers, because there's flexibility there, in that certainly 2 50-gram samplers could turn into 1 100-gram sampler. So there's that level of flexibility, and if and you just let me know and I can like shift the inventory around if the 100-gram ones sell out. But I also last time like I shifted the numbers to make sure that there were like as many options available for as long as possible, if that makes sense. Now, of course, even if you are going to hold off and maybe decide later if you want to get the sampler, even just adding it to your favorites on Etsy, or favoriting the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop, those are things that are really, really helpful as well. But honestly, the biggest thing that all of you do to support the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel is to watch these videos. So when you watch and engage by liking and commenting and subscribing, that really helps a huge, huge amount. And, so if you enjoy the content and are taking the time to watch the videos, please make sure you throw up some likes and leave some comments. That engagement really does help everything a lot. But I hope that you guys enjoy this. And again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm trying to look and see if there's anything else. So the samplers are going to ship at the end of June. The videos will air starting July 22nd. There's add-ons. Those listings are all in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. And can you add, this is a question I get sometimes, can you add other yarn to your sampler from the shop? Because of like the timeline and how long it's going to be before these summer samplers ship, currently I can't combine shipping between them with other ready to ship yarn in the shop. So that would need to be separate, if that makes sense. But technically all of this is in the Etsy listings, but Etsy recently changed things and made it harder to see the item descriptions. So they're now sort of on the sidebar instead of like right under the pictures. But so there are a bunch of details in the item description, there will absolutely be a playlist for the Summer Mini Skein mini series. There will be a YouTube playlist with all the videos in there, if that's what you were inquiring about. So that way it'll be really easy to go to one place to find the videos. And so I have, if you want to go back and check out the Hanukkah series, there's a playlist for that as well that has all of the videos, which ended up being a lot more than just the 8 that we started off with, but all the videos that were part of that special are in a dedicated playlist. And so, and when the series is airing, I'll have that playlist close to the top, like it'll be highlighted on the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. So I think that helps. But I did, just to drop another blog post into the chat, a lot of the information that I talked about today, and this is also information that is in the pre-sale listings, but here it, and pre-sale, what? Did it not let me do that? Why is it giving me an error? I should be allowed to post a link to the website that is associated with this. Oh, I signed out of YouTube? Well, that would be why. Crud. What? Why am I signed out of YouTube? That's why I can't post a link in the chat. All right, guys, hold on. I'm now on my Switch account. There we go. That was odd. That was very, very odd. So when I'm posting the links, so I'm live from my phone. When I'm posting the links, I'm on my laptop. Okay, so this is a blog post with more details on the SMSMS and summer sampler pre-sale. Woohoo! I think it worked that time. Yes, it did. Yeah, so I didn't get signed out on my phone. It's just for some reason I must have like clicked something. I got signed out on the desktop. Yeah, no, I got back on, but so my YouTube channel is on my like business, is associated with my like business email account and not my personal email account. And so if I'm logged into my like Gmail, then it first logged me into my like personal Gmail like YouTube account. So that's like it's always fun. See, it's raw, unscripted, real life. You guys get to see the realness of when I struggle with technical difficulties while streaming. And I am rather flushed right now. I am blushing. Oh my gosh, I'm getting redder by the moment. Such as my red hair might be darker than it was when I was young, but I still have redhead skin. Oh goodness. But yeah, thank you guys so much seriously for all the support that you've shown and your excitement and encouragement to do like special weeks like this. I have a lot of fun. Like with the Dye Pot Weekly series, I do try to mix up the techniques a little bit. Occasionally there'll be like 2 or 3 related videos back to back. But I do try to sort of like vary it, mix it up, because I know different people. Some people really like the more wild candy videos. Some people like, speckling, and other people like it when I play with cotton. And well, I know people want more acrylic. So that's on my list, I promise. It's really fun to do like a series where I'm like focusing on like one theme, and it just adds like a level of creativity that really is like really, really exciting. And I have like a whole list of ideas, and I think that my plans will likely evolve when I start filming, but I'm just so inspired. I'm really, really inspired. And I imagine there'll probably be a recap video at the end again. I like being able to do that and show off like all of the yarn all together. And it's just all, I don't know, I really love what I do. And I hope that comes across in my content, that I genuinely, truly enjoy all of this. And so, yeah, I hope I know that there's many, many things that I can improve on. And there's many, many things that I can do better. But I love being able to share my content with all of you and being able to share it on YouTube, so that way it is fundamentally free for people to access. I haven't ever even looked into going onto some tutorial platform that's behind a paywall, in part because I think my attitude is typically more unscripted and oops oriented, but also because I think that I want people to be able to access this content, because there were points when I first wanted to dye yarn, I was like, what can I get my hands on from right here? What can I find locally that will work? Okay, let's go for it and do it. And the rest is history. And so one of my goals is to inspire people to play around with color and maybe give it a shot. Or at least, if you don't want to try dyeing yourself but enjoy the videos, like when you go and you look at other hand-dyed yarn, you'll look at it in a different way if you kind of understand more about how it's created. And I think that that's really, really fun. But so, when I do these things like, hey, this is my shop, or this is my Patreon, or things like that, All of that sort of like goes back in to really help support the content. And so these things help me get supplies and materials that either make it easier for me to create videos, like I now have 2 steam pans, or it just lets me buy like a bulk wholesale order of yarn, so that way I have the literal materials that I need to create the videos. Plus, when you guys buy yarn, it makes more space in my house, which is a little overtaken by yarn right now. But it's sort of all like goes back into it. And yeah, I don't know, I like that this is my career and this is my job. Like it's really wonderful that I can do something that I am so passionate about, and that you guys enjoy that. And really, like, I think I have the most supportive community ever. So I love all of you very much, and I appreciate you so much. So thank you for encouraging me to film more and play more and try new things. Because, man, remember back when I tried acid dyes for the first time? I probably made so many mistakes back then. And I feel like I've been growing so much by just pushing myself to try little tweaks and see what happens. Ooh, what about a broken violet set special? Ooh. Oh, taking a bunch of violet dyes. It's funny, a lot of other purples don't necessarily break. There are some of the acid dyes I did. The current Patreon early access video is looking at breaking of acid dyes, and a lot of them are a lot less dramatic than food coloring. Probably because I don't quite have the feel or I know with food coloring how to maximize the breaking. I have conditions that work for that. And those conditions might not necessarily be the best ones to maximize breaking with acid dyes. And it definitely happens. But just if you see multicolored speckles when you're speckling, it doesn't necessarily mean that the colors absorb at different rates. So I would say that I have like 2 candidates right now that have like real extreme breaking with dip dyeing, and I am very excited to play with both of those more. Oh yes, there's so much Wilton's Violet on the channel. I feel like I'm not always good about adding those videos. I have like a whole Breaking Violet playlist. But I think it's funny. I've moved a little more towards like Wilton Colorway from the gel colors, the gel icing colors, because it's a lot more consistent to measure those drops than it is to use like a measuring spoon. But my favorite combination now is a combination of the base pink, blue, and black, and you get sort of this really deep. It's a little deeper than what you get with the violet, and I really like it. Yeah, so when I'm gonna break food coloring, that's exactly what I do. I start with I start with 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 8 cups of water, or sometimes 10 cups of water, depending on how many I'm dipping. And then I will dip dye the yarn in that. And that's sufficient for most of the reds to bind, sometimes some of the yellows. Really depends a bit on the yarn base, but usually the blues won't absorb yet at that acid concentration. So then once I add the rest of the yarn, then I'll add more vinegar. But the rate of absorption between red 3 and blue 1 is huge. So it's really easy to see that breaking. And I think that, the rates aren't necessarily, some colors might be, but they aren't necessarily as extreme with some of the acid dyes that I've tried so far. Yes, I am still live. I am still live with very little delay actually today. The delay is very, very minimal right now. But yeah, I'm still live. And if you guys are curious what this is all about, I am talking about the 2019 summer special. It's going to be a whole mini series dedicated to dyeing mini skeins. And then I'm also just opened up pre-sales, so that way you can order some of these samplers, and each night as I share the new video, you can open up your package And I just dropped the pre-sale link in the chat again. But then you can open up you can sort of like open up your mini skein and see which one you got and watch me create them and the techniques that I used. And yeah, I'm really excited. Like, oh, like I have like my list of favorite techniques and I'm like, ooh, it would be so cool to do this on minis because then you just sort of detach them. But yes, I'm about to sign off myself. You guys, I like chatting with you. I always end up staying a little bit longer than I intended. But yeah, so head over and check it out. Feel free, if you're watching the replay, to leave any questions in the comments down below. Feel free to reach out to me privately on Etsy. I do try to keep all communications related to the shop on Etsy versus like other ways that you guys can contact me. But yeah, so if you've made an order and have questions about your order, please reach out via Etsy to talk about your order. But yeah, like I don't know, I'm just humbled and thankful and really, really excited, and especially excited for the spring break to be over and the kids to go back to school. And then I'm gonna start probably with video 1. I'm gonna start with the Monday night video for July 22nd. And I know for that one, I know exactly what color I want to do. I know exactly the colors, exactly the technique that I want to do. And I hope that you guys will enjoy all of this as much as I do. And there was just a comment saying thanking me for all my fun videos, but seriously, thank you all for watching them, because that allows me to continue to create these, and yeah, I love it. So again, I'm Rebecca from ChemKnits. All the pre-sale for the samplers, they're highlighted in the ChemKnits Creations Etsy shop. You can't really miss it. There's links in the description, links in the comments, links in the chat. Yes, please hit that like button. And if you aren't already subscribed, please subscribe. We have a lot of fun over here. And yeah, I hope that you guys are all having a really, really wonderful evening. And tentatively, not scheduled because we might do a play date in the morning, but tentatively I might try to go live during nap time tomorrow and do some spinning and chat. So that would be probably starting somewhere between like noon and 1 Eastern time. No absolute promises because it depends on how things are going with the kids, but I am itching to just hang out and film. My camera has been pretty quiet in the last like almost 2 weeks. So anyway, I hope that you guys have a really, really great evening, and I will chat with all of you soon. Thank you